Hey, you guys, today we are going to be balancing evidence with analysis. And I know those are two really big words that probably terrify you in the beginning, but trust me, it's going to be okay. So, with that, let's get started. Okay, I want you to imagine that you're going to a restaurant, right? And they lay out all of these cakes in front of you, and you don't know which one to get. So, smart thing to do, and if they would ever allow you to do this, would be to take a sample from each cake. I'm okay with that. And then what you can do is you can decide which cake has the right balance between having the right amount of cake and just the right amount of frosting. Sometimes we've all had desserts where the cake is just all cake and it doesn't have enough of that frosting that we love so much. And then there's other times where a cake can have way too much frosting and it's like kind of nauseating. So you want to find the correct balance. Well, writing is the same thing. You want to balance your writing. All right, so using that same cake analogy, you have to remember that a good argument is exactly like a layered cake. You want to have just the right amount of research and the right amount of rich thinking, which is your frosting. So you got your research, which is the cake, and then the frosting, which is your thinking, your own thoughts. Many of you have said, when do I get to put in my own thoughts into my writing? This is going to be the time when you can start adding in your own thoughts into your writing. But to achieve this balance, you need to add in your own thinking and your explanations. And this is when the writing, to me, becomes really fun. So in your mind, I want you to picture that your evidence is the cake part and your thinking is the frosting part. Now, the key to this is not just to add on more research, right, into your writing, because then it's just going to be too cakey. You want to explain. The key word there is you want to explain the significance. The significance means the importance of your evidence to really bind it together, to hold it together, the way the frosting holds cake together. Your explanations are what is going to make your evidence really strong and really important to the reader. So this means really looking, analyzing the evidence and explaining your thinking. So questions to help you analyze your evidence, right? To make your thinking come alive, to be able to put in your own thoughts. This slide is going to be really important. Pause the video here and take a screenshot of this slide because you're going to need it. Now, what you're going to do is you are going to use these questions to help you input your own thoughts. So you can look at a piece of evidence that you included and you can ask yourself, why did I include this evidence? This is a great question for you to be able to come up with a really rich thought on this evidence. Or, how does this evidence relate back to my claim? Remember, every piece of evidence that you put in has to relate back to your claim. That's the purpose of it. If you added a quote, what makes this particular quote or statistic that you found so important? A statistic is if you say 50% of iPad users are males. That's a statistic. It's a number followed up with a reason. So you can look at it, your quote or your stat, and you can say, what makes this particular quote or statistic so important? Again, your own thoughts about your evidence. Or, how is this evidence now changing my thinking? You may have put something in there that changes your thought process about your argument. That's okay to go ahead and list that. So you will go ahead and use these questions to help you come up with your thoughts. And these questions make it very easy for you to add in your own thoughts into your writing. So once again, please make sure that you are going ahead and screenshotting this so you can use it later. While that last slide is really helpful, it's even more helpful if you can put it into action. So let's take a look at an example. We're going back to Jack's essay, and we're going to look at his evidence where he put in no analysis. Remember, analysis is nothing more than your own thoughts, your original thinking. So let's take a look at what he has here. There's one reason why chocolate milk should be served in schools. The famous nutritionist showed that chocolate milk has a lot less sugar and carbohydrates than soda and power drinks like Gatorade. I don't know about you, but it's kind of boring and it's kind of stale. Your thoughts and your originality, that's what makes your writing awesome. And that's what makes it interesting to the reader. So it feels like it's just all cake and no frosting, right? You need that sweet spot to make you come back for more. It's just a piece of evidence. There's no thoughts. Who cares? It's like shoes with no color. Please, gotta have a little something. And he probably should have used some of the questions on the previous slide to help him with his draft. That would have made it really come alive. All right, so let's look at the same example again, but now let's look at it with a little bit of analysis. Again, analysis is some original thoughts. So going back to it, there's one reason why chocolate milk should be served in schools. The famous nutritionist showed that chocolate milk has a lot less sugar and carbohydrates than soda and power drinks like Gatorade. So far, it's the same thing I just read in the previous. But now, here's the analysis, and this is where it's important. So if kids get in the habit of drinking milk at school, then they will probably skip the sodas outside of school. The famous nutritionist didn't actually say this as a fact. This is my interpretation or opinion. But it was the facts her kids pointed out about how soda has more sugar than made more soda than that made me think of it. So their thoughts actually helped this a lot more and brought it to life. You have to incorporate your own analysis into this so that way it becomes stronger and you don't have a cake that's just all cake. You get a little treat with it, and it's that treat I'm really looking for. So one question that always comes up with you guys is when you look at these questions, you always ask yourself, well, how would I go about answering these questions? I don't understand them. So let's take a minute and let's go through each of these, and I'm going to show you how maybe Jack would answer these questions. So the first one is, what makes this particular quote or stat so important? Well, I included this evidence about how the nutritionist said that chocolate milk has less sugar and carbohydrates because it makes chocolate milk seem much healthier than soda. I mean, everyone knows soda isn't really good for you. Very simple, right? The next one, how is this evidence changing my thinking? Well, if chocolate milk is healthier than soda, it makes me think it's a good thing for kids to have in school because maybe they'll get in the habit of having it. And they'll like it so much they'll drink chocolate milk instead of soda at home too. I wasn't thinking that before. How could it change the choice kids make outside of school? I should definitely write all of that down. So again, this wasn't his original thought. It kind of goes against what he was originally thinking. It's okay if you include a piece of evidence that changes your mind a little bit. It's actually a good thing. So as you're coming up with your original thoughts, incorporating them into your writing can be a little bit tough, and you need to use transition words. And these here are all types of transition words that you can use in your writing to go ahead and incorporate your own thoughts. So these are all ways to push your thinking. You can incorporate those thoughts by using like I see or to add on or in other words. I would take a moment and screenshot this slide as well to help you put in that evidence into your writing. So here's what you're going to do. When you go back to your writing, you are going to put your finger on a place where you used a lot of evidence or where you feel the evidence was really, really strong. And then I want you to go back to some of those questions that help you analyze, that will help you put your own thoughts down. And try asking some of those questions. And then go ahead to the other screenshot that you took and use those transition phrases to help you incorporate your thoughts into your writing. I will guarantee you, Once you do it and you see it, you will see how much your writing changes and how strong it becomes. Now it's time for you to do your thing. You guys are going to take the rest of the class period to reread and revise your writing. You're going to analyze by putting in your own thoughts. Make sure that you go back and you go through the checklist of the things that I'm going to be looking for in your argumentative writing. You can find that in Schoology in the writing course in the argumentative writing folder. Remember to analyze and explain. Let me say that again. Analyze and explain your evidence. If you need to add more of your thinking, but you're not sure where or you're stuck, put a star, next to an arrow, some kind of mark. Or you can take a minute and write your ideas in a notebook and come back to it, or on a sticky note, or wherever you want. Entirely up to you. But this is a really important skill that's going to launch your writing to the next level. Good luck, and please make sure that you submit your work to the Standard-Based Grading Dropbox so I can go ahead and analyze it as well. Bye.